The great hall of the Ilarian palace shimmered with colors no human had ever seen before. Crystalline lights floated in the air, reflecting on the polished floors and bouncing across the intricate patterns etched into the walls. Empress Kailara sat on her throne, her posture rigid, her gaze sharp. The air was heavy with anticipation as representatives from distant star systems filled the hall. Diplomatic ceremonies were always tense, but today was different. Today, a human from a distant primitive planet was about to be formally introduced as her mate. Kailara's eyes narrowed as she considered the implications. Humans were known in the galaxy for their unpredictability, their fragility, compared to the towering, long-lived Aelarians. Yet a prophecy had spoken of a human who would bring balance to her empire, a mate who could unlock a hidden potential that even the Aelarians could not predict. She had not believed it at first, dismissing the idea as myth, but now here he was. The doors to the hall opened with a gentle hum, revealing Adrian. He stepped forward carefully, his posture unassuming, yet there was a quiet confidence in the way he held himself. Humans were small, their skin soft and pale, and Adrian was no exception. Yet there was something in his eyes, a steady, unwavering curiosity that seemed to take in the vastness of the hall and the crowd without fear. Kailara studied him silently. He was supposed to feel out of place, overwhelmed by the grandeur, yet he moved as if he belonged. She frowned, irritated by her own fascination. "Adrian of Earth," a ceremonial voice echoed through the hall. "You have been chosen to join the bloodline of the Ilarian Empire. Step forward and acknowledge the Empress." Adrian moved closer, bowing with a human grace that Kailara noted with interest. Unlike many Ilarians who performed formal bows in rigid, precise lines, his bow was fluid, respectful, but alive. He looked up and met Kailara's gaze, unflinching. "You honor me," he said, his voice calm, carrying a warmth that was strange to the cold precision of the palace. "I will serve the Empire with loyalty." A murmur ran through the assembly. For many, the choice of a human as Empress's mate was shocking. Some whispered about his weakness, others about the risk he might pose. But Kailara remained silent, watching. "You are far from your home," Kailara said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "You come to an empire that is older than your entire species. You will face challenges you cannot imagine." Adrian inclined his head slightly. "I am aware. I will learn, and I will adapt." Kailara's eyes flicked to the council seated around the throne. They shared her skepticism. Humans had never shown themselves as leaders among the stars. Many thought Adrian would falter, that the Empire might suffer under his presence. She would not admit it yet, but a small part of her was curious to see if he could prove them all wrong. The ceremony continued. Adrian was led through the traditional rites, each step filled with alien symbols and strange rituals. He stumbled slightly at first, misreading a gesture or a word, but quickly corrected himself, observing closely, learning with rapid precision. Kailara noted each correction, her curiosity growing. Humans were adaptable, she realized, in ways that were subtle but effective. After the ceremony, the assembly dispersed for the evening feast. Kailara remained on her throne, her mind occupied by the human before her. She watched as he moved through the crowd, shaking hands and offering respectful bows. Some of the nobles sneered, their distaste clear, but Adrian's calm demeanor seemed to disarm them. Later, as the hall quieted and the stars outside the palace windows twinkled, Adrian approached Kailara. He bowed once more, this time privately, in front of her alone. "I am grateful for your acceptance," he said. "I know I have much to learn." Kailara studied him, her expression unreadable. "Acceptance is not easily given," she said. "You must understand that our empire does not tolerate weakness." "I do not intend to be weak," Adrian replied simply. "I may not be like you or your people, but I will find my own way to serve." There was a pause. Kelara found herself observing the human in a way she rarely observed anyone. He was not extraordinary in appearance, not towering or beautiful by Illyrian standards, but there was a quiet strength about him, a patience, a willingness to understand and adapt. The Empress rose from her throne and gestured for him to walk with her. They moved through the corridors of the palace, the lights glowing softly along the walls. "Tell me," she said finally, "what do you see in all of this? Does it overwhelm you?" Adrian smiled faintly. "It is different from anything I have known, but I see patterns, connections. I can learn how this world works if I pay attention." Kelara felt a flicker of surprise. He spoke with confidence, but not arrogance. That confidence, grounded in observation and thought, was unusual for humans. Most were brash, impulsive, relying on luck or instinct. Adrian seemed different. As they walked, Kelara explained the traditions of the Empire, the delicate balance of power among noble houses, and the expectations placed upon her mate. Adrian listened attentively, asking questions that were thoughtful, not naive. Hours passed, and Kelara realized she had not expected to be engaged by a human in this way. He was learning, adapting, and more importantly, he was observing her, learning about her, not just the Empire. It was subtle, but she felt it. Finally, they reached the edge of a balcony overlooking the city. Twin moons reflected off the waters below, casting silver light across the towers. Kelara remained silent, allowing Adrian a moment to absorb the view. "It is beautiful," he said softly. "I have never seen anything like it." Kelara's expression softened slightly. "You may find beauty in the unexpected," she said. "Humans are strange that way. They find meaning where we see only function." "I have always tried to see beyond the obvious," Adrian replied, "to understand how things work, and why." For a moment, Kelara felt a sense of connection she had never experienced with anyone in her long life. He was not like her people. He was not like anyone she had known. And yet there was something compelling in the way he approached the world, with curiosity, patience, and quiet strength. The moment was interrupted by a sudden alert from the palace security system. A distant signal indicated unusual activity in the nearby sector. Kelara tensed, her instincts as Empress taking over. She turned to Adrian. "Stay here," she commanded. "I must attend to this immediately." "I will be ready if needed," Adrian said. "I can help in whatever way I can." Kelara raised an eyebrow but said nothing. He had shown initiative before, and while she did not fully trust his abilities, she could not deny his willingness to step forward. As she moved toward the command chamber, she caught a glimpse of Adrian watching her. There was no fear in his gaze, only awareness. It unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. The night passed with tense reports and updates. Nothing major happened in the sector, but the small disturbances were a reminder of the fragile balance of power in the galaxy. Kelara returned to Adrian later, finding him still on the balcony, staring at the twin moons. "You are not afraid?" she said, standing beside him. "Fear does not help," he replied simply. "Observation and preparation do." Kelara studied him for a long moment. His words were simple, yet there was wisdom in them, wisdom that even the Council of Elders sometimes lacked. She realized that humans, though small and seemingly fragile, had a way of seeing the world that was entirely different from Illyrians. As dawn approached, casting a soft glow over the palace, Kelara finally spoke. "Perhaps you are not entirely what I expected," she said. Adrian turned to her, a small, respectful smile on his face. "I hope I can be more than you expect, Your Majesty." Kelara looked at him and allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible smile. Perhaps, she thought, the prophecy was not wrong. Perhaps this human could indeed bring something new to her empire, a perspective, a strength, and a courage that even the oldest Aelarians could not comprehend. The sun rose over the palace, bathing the halls in golden light. Empress Kaelara and her human mate stood together on the balcony, two beings from vastly different worlds, beginning a journey that neither fully understood yet. A journey that would test the limits of the Empire, reveal hidden powers, and challenge everything they thought they knew about strength, loyalty, and love. And as Adrian looked at the stars beyond the palace walls, he silently vowed to prove that humans were capable of greatness, capable of shaping destinies among the stars, even in a world that had never truly understood them. The morning sun poured through the towering windows of the palace, casting long shadows across the marble floors. Empress Kaelara moved swiftly through the corridors, her mind occupied by reports and messages from across the Empire. The human mate, Adrian, had proven himself composed during the ceremonial events, but Kaelara knew that the real challenge was only beginning. The political climate within the Empire was tense. Several noble houses had never accepted the idea of a human as the Empress's mate. Some whispered that Adrian's presence weakened the throne, while others feared the prophecy, unsure of what it truly meant. Kaelara had faced dissent before, but this situation was unusual. A human, a species they considered fragile and unremarkable, now had a place at the heart of the Empire. Adrian followed quietly behind her, observing the palace with keen interest. Unlike many Aelarians, he did not rush to impress or show off knowledge. Instead, he absorbed everything. He noticed how the council communicated, the subtle gestures of agreement or disapproval, the hierarchy hidden in small actions. It fascinated him, and he made mental notes to understand and adapt. As they entered the council chamber, Kaelara's advisors greeted them with curt bows. The air was thick with unspoken tension. One elder, a tall Aelarian named Varen, spoke first. "Your Majesty, the humans are unpredictable. Even now, we do not know what your mate can truly accomplish. Some houses are already expressing concern." Kaelara's eyes narrowed. "And what of these concerns?" she asked, her voice sharp. "They fear instability," Varen said. "A human among the throne could cause unrest. They question loyalty, strength, and adaptability. Many believe he is not suited for the responsibilities that come with a position." Adrian remained silent, listening carefully. He had expected doubt, perhaps even hostility, but he did not allow it to disturb him. He had faced skepticism before, and it had never broken him. Instead, he used it as motivation. Kaelara studied her mate. "Do you understand what is expected of you, Adrian?" she asked. "I do," he replied calmly. "And I will do my best to earn the trust of your people. I do not ask for acceptance without merit." A murmur ran through the council. Kaelara's eyes met Adrian's, and she could see his determination. Unlike many humans, he did not seek approval for its own sake. He sought understanding and respect through action. The discussion shifted to reports from the frontier sectors. Sensors had detected unusual movements in nearby star systems. Small fleets were repositioning, and there were signs of potential attacks. Kaelara's advisors speculated on the motives, but no clear pattern emerged. Adrian leaned forward, his human mind analyzing the data. "If I may," he said, "the movements appear random at first, but there is a pattern in their timing. They are probing defenses, testing for weaknesses, not preparing for full-scale war yet." Several council members exchanged skeptical glances. A human predicting tactics for an alien fleet? It was unheard of. Kaelara raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And what do you suggest?" she asked. "Strengthen your patrols in the sectors showing unusual movement," Adrian said. "Position small, mobile units rather than large fleets. They can respond quickly, adapt to changes, and gather intelligence without committing all resources at once." Veyron scoffed. This is risky. Humans have no experience with interstellar strategy. You cannot predict alien behavior with such confidence. Alara held up her hand to silence him. She looked at Adrian, considering the possibilities. Very well, she said. We will try your approach, but understand this. Failure will have consequences. Adrian nodded, unflinching. I understand. I will not fail. Over the following days, Adrian immersed himself in the Empire's operations. He studied star maps, communication systems, and fleet formations. He observed the soldiers, noticing patterns in their drills, their reactions to commands, and the efficiency of different units. Slowly, he began to suggest small improvements. Better coordination between patrol units, new communication protocols, minor adjustments in fleet routes. Some council members scoffed, dismissing his ideas as naive. Others, quietly, began to see results. Patrol units under his guidance reported back with improved efficiency, spotting anomalies that had previously gone unnoticed. Rumors of his aptitude began to spread through the palace. Alara watched all of this with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Adrian's human mind worked differently. He did not rely on brute force or sheer power. He relied on observation, adaptation, and clever solutions. It was unlike anything she had seen in centuries of ruling. One evening, Alara and Adrian walked through the gardens, the twin moons reflecting on the pools of water. The night was quiet, but tension lingered in the air. Alara spoke first. You are proving useful, but usefulness is not enough. The Empire will watch you closely. Any mistake could be used against you. Adrian listened thoughtfully. I know. I am not here to challenge the Empire. I am here to support it. I may be different, but that does not mean I am weak. Alara regarded him closely. You speak with confidence, yet you are still learning. Tell me, human, what drives you to face challenges so calmly? Adrian smiled faintly. Experience. Humanity has faced countless challenges, from natural disasters to conflicts among ourselves. We survive by observing, learning, and adapting. Fear slows us. Knowledge empowers us. Alara considered his words. There was wisdom in them, simple yet profound. Humans were fragile, yes, but their fragility had forced them to evolve in unexpected ways. Perhaps the prophecy had been correct. Perhaps a human could bring a perspective the Ilarians lacked. The following days brought news from the frontier. Small skirmishes had erupted in distant systems. Alien raiders had attacked a minor outpost, testing the Empire's response. Alara's advisors debated the appropriate reaction, suggesting overwhelming force to show strength. Adrian intervened. A direct assault may escalate the situation, he said. Instead, isolate the raiders, contain them, and use the engagement to gather intelligence. Learn their strategies, their weaknesses. Then you can respond with precision. His approach was unconventional, but Alara agreed. She sent a team under his guidance. Curious to see the outcome, reports soon returned. The raiders had been captured or repelled with minimal losses, and critical intelligence had been gathered about their fleet movements. The results exceeded expectations. Word of Adrian's success spread quickly. Whispers of the human mate who understood tactics better than some council members circulated through the palace. Alara noticed the change in how others treated him. Some still doubted, but the seeds of respect were growing. One evening, as Alara prepared for rest, she found Adrian in the observation chamber, staring at the stars. You think too much, she said quietly. Surprising herself by speaking without ceremony, Adrian turned to her, a small smile on his face. Thinking is what keeps us alive. Observation and understanding are tools. Humans have survived by using them better than brute strength. Alara leaned against the railing beside him. And you are not afraid of failing? Fear does not help, Adrian said simply. I focus on what I can control, what I can change. The rest I learn from. Kailara felt a flicker of something unfamiliar. Admiration, perhaps, or even respect. She realized that humans were capable of strengths the Ilarians had overlooked. Adrian was not just a mate. He was a mind that could challenge the Empire's way of thinking. As they stood together, the twin moons casting silver light over the palace, Kalarana knew that the coming months would test them both. Political intrigue, external threats, and the Empire's fragile stability would demand every ounce of skill, courage, and wisdom. And Adrian, unassuming, human, yet remarkably capable, was already proving that he was more than just a prophecy. He was a partner, a strategist, and perhaps, in ways she could not yet understand, a force that could change the fate of the Empire. The night passed, and with the dawn came new challenges. Signals indicated that larger forces were mobilizing in the nearby sectors. The enemy was no longer testing the Empire. They were preparing for something greater. Kailara convened her council, and this time, Adrian's voice was heard without hesitation. Preparation is key, he said. We cannot rely solely on the Empire's traditions. We must adapt, anticipate, and use what we have learned from previous engagements. Our strength lies in understanding, not just in numbers. For the first time, she felt the weight of possibility. The Empire was in capable hands, not because of its rulers alone, but because of the human beside her, curious, adaptable, and unafraid to confront what others could not see. As the council listened, some skeptical, some intrigued, Kailara realized that Adrian was no ordinary human. He was a catalyst, a mind that could change the course of events in ways even she had not imagined, and the Empire, her empire, was about to witness the unfolding of a power hidden within the smallest and most underestimated of species. The silence of the council chamber was broken by urgent alarms. Red lights pulsed across the walls, casting harsh shadows over the faces of the assembled advisors. Empress Kailara stood at the center, her posture tense, eyes scanning the displays that showed multiple enemy fleets converging on Ilarian space. The human mate, Adrian, stood quietly beside her, observing the data with an intensity that made some of the council members uneasy.
This is no test, Kailara said sharply, her voice cutting through the panic. They are mobilizing a full assault.
Our outer defenses will not hold them for long. Adrian's eyes traced the movements of the enemy ships. He noticed patterns in their formation, slight inconsistencies in their timing, and gaps in their approach. His mind worked quickly, analyzing every variable, predicting possible outcomes. They are probing for weak points, he said calmly. If we respond with brute force, we risk falling into a trap. But if we strike strategically, we can disrupt their coordination and protect the Empire. Veyron, ever skeptical, snapped. A human cannot understand the tactics of these species. You speak boldly, but your ideas could cost us everything. Kailara raised her hand, silencing him. Her eyes met Adrian's. Explain your plan, she said, her tone neutral, but with an edge of curiosity. Adrian outlined his strategy. We divide our forces into agile units rather than a single massive fleet. Each unit will counter the enemy in small, coordinated engagements, drawing them into zones where we control the environment. Our goal is to minimize losses while forcing them to reveal their true capabilities, and we position reserves to respond instantly wherever gaps appear. The council exchanged uneasy glances. This was unconventional, risky even by Ilarian standards. But Kailara felt a spark of intrigue. The humans spoke with logic and foresight she had rarely encountered. Prepare the fleets, she ordered. Follow his strategy. We will see if it works. The battle began almost immediately. From the palace observation deck, Kailara watched as small Ilarian units deployed across space, weaving through asteroid fields, using gravitational anomalies and striking the enemy in unexpected ways. She felt her chest tighten with tension. Every movement was critical. One mistake could mean annihilation. Adrian's eyes never left the displays. He noted each reaction, each adjustment the enemy made, and instructed tactical shifts with calm precision. His strategies were not conventional. They relied on anticipation and understanding, rather than sheer firepower. Slowly, the tide of the battle began to shift. Enemy ships faltered, their coordination breaking down, their attacks becoming less effective. But even as the Illyrians gained the upper hand, the enemy launched a massive assault on the central command station, a direct attack meant to cripple the Empire's leadership. Kaelara's heart raced. If the station fell, the Empire would be vulnerable, and thousands of lives could be lost. Adrian turned to her, his expression calm but determined.
The station cannot withstand their fire for long.
I have to act. Kaelara's eyes widened.
Act?
What do you mean? Without hesitation, Adrian moved to the tactical console. His fingers brushed over the controls, but nothing happened immediately. Then, slowly, a faint glow began to emanate from his hands. Energy rippled outward, invisible at first, then growing into a visible field that distorted the air around him. Kaelara froze, her mind racing. She had heard legends of human abilities, whispered in myths and obscure texts, but she had never seen anything like this. The humans were supposed to be fragile, limited by biology and technology. Yet here was her mate, bending energy to his will, shaping it like the finest Aelarian technomancer. The field expanded, surrounding the command station with a shimmering shield of light. Enemy fire struck it, bouncing harmlessly, while Adrian concentrated, manipulating the energy to disrupt incoming attacks. With precise gestures, he deflected torpedoes, redirected beams, and created openings for the Aelarian fleets to counterattack. Kaelara's breath caught. She had never witnessed a human wield power like this. Her mind raced to comprehend it, to reconcile what she had assumed about humanity with the reality before her. This human, her mate, was extraordinary in a way that defied centuries of understanding. The enemy faltered, ships collided, formations broke, and panic rippled through their fleet. Adrian guided the Aelarians with unerring accuracy, predicting movements, creating traps, and turning the battle into a precise dance of energy and strategy. Slowly, the Aelarians gained control, forcing the enemy into retreat. Finally, after what felt like hours, the battle ended. The enemy fleet withdrew, their power broken, their intentions thwarted. Silence settled over the palace as the enormity of the victory sank in. Thousands of lives had been saved, and the Empire had been protected, not by sheer numbers, but by intelligence, adaptability, and a hidden power no one had expected. Kaelara stared at Adrian, her mind struggling to process what she had just witnessed. He turned to her, sweat glistening on his brow, his calm expression unchanged. "The station is secure," he said simply. "The fleets are retreating. The Empire is safe." For now, Bayron and the other council members approached, their faces a mixture of awe and disbelief.
This is impossible, Bayron muttered. A human
Controlling energy like that? Saving us all? Kaelara placed a hand on Adrian's shoulder, steadying herself. "It is real," she said softly.
And it changes everything. The court was stunned. Rumors spread quickly, carrying the story of the human mate who had revealed a power beyond imagination.
Nobles whispered in hallways, soldiers recounted the events with reverence, and the Empire itself seemed to shift its perception of humanity. No longer fragile, no longer weak, humans could be remarkable, capable of feats even the oldest Aelarians could not achieve. Later, Kaelara walked with Adrian through the palace gardens, the twin moons reflecting on the pools of water. The night was calm, yet the weight of the day pressed heavily on them both. "You were extraordinary," Kaelara said, her voice quiet, almost reverent. "I never imagined a human could wield power like that." Adrian looked down, modest. almost shy. "I have always had this ability," he said. "I never revealed it before because I did not understand it fully. I have learned by observing, by understanding the world around me. Today it was necessary to act." Kaelara's eyes softened. "You saved not only the Empire, but countless lives. You have changed how we view humans entirely." "I only did what I could," Adrian replied. "The Empire's strength comes from its people, its unity, and its willingness to adapt. I am just one part of that." Kaelara studied him, realizing that his humility was as remarkable as his power. He had not acted for glory or recognition. He had acted out of necessity, driven by reason, courage, and a desire to protect. In the days that followed, Adrian's actions became the subject of discussion across the Empire. Scholars debated the implications of human potential, soldiers trained to learn from his strategies, and nobles who had opposed him were forced to reconsider their positions. Kaelara herself began to see the Empire through a new lens, one where strength was not just measured in longevity, technology, or numbers, but in adaptability, intelligence, and courage. Adrian continued to work closely with Kaelara, helping reorganize the fleets, improve defense protocols, and teach humans ways of thinking to the Illyrians. He showed them how to observe, analyze, and adapt, turning potential weaknesses into strengths. The Empire was changing, quietly, subtly, but irrevocably. Kaelara found herself watching him often, not just as her mate, but as a partner, a mind she respected, and a being capable of things she had never imagined. There was a bond forming, stronger than ceremony or duty, a bond forged through shared purpose, mutual respect, and the extraordinary events of the battle. One evening, standing together on the balcony overlooking the city, Kaelara spoke softly. "I underestimated humans," she admitted. "I believed you were weak, that you would falter in the face of challenges beyond your understanding. I was wrong." Adrian smiled, a quiet warmth in his expression. "Humans are different. We survive by learning, by adapting. We may be small, but we are capable of great things." Kaelara turned to him, feeling a mixture of pride, awe, and something deeper, connection, respect, and perhaps even admiration. The prophecy had spoken of a human mate, but she had never imagined it would be like this. Not only had Adrian proven his worth, he had revealed a potential that could change the fate of the Empire itself. As the twin moons rose higher in the sky, casting silver light over the palace, Kaelara and Adrian stood together, united not only by duty, but by understanding. The Empire had survived, yes, but, more importantly, it had glimpsed the extraordinary potential hidden within humanity. Potential that could shape the stars themselves. And in that quiet moment, Kaelara realized that the human beside her was not only a mate, but a force that could redefine power, loyalty, and hope in ways she had never imagined possible. The galaxy had changed, and so had she. The aftermath of the battle left the Illyrian Empire in a state of cautious relief. The enemy fleet had been repelled, the frontier sector secured, and the Empire's citizens were buzzing with news of the human mate who had turned the tide of war. Empress Kaelara moved through the palace with a measured pace, her mind heavy with thoughts of strategy, politics, and the human beside her who had changed everything in a single day. Adrian, despite the attention and whispers of awe, remained calm. He walked through the palace halls quietly, observing the people, listening to their concerns, and offering guidance where it was needed. Soldiers and officers sought his advice, curious about the tactical decisions that had saved countless lives. Nobles, even those who had opposed his presence, now looked at him with grudging respect. The shift in perception was profound. Humanity, long considered weak by the Illyrians, had proven itself in ways no one had anticipated. Kaelara called for a private meeting with Adrian in the Imperial Gardens. The air was cool, the twin moons casting silver light over the pools and flowering plants. She watched him carefully, noting how composed he remained, despite the Empire's eyes upon him. "You have done more than I imagined," she said softly. "Not only did you save the Empire, but you also changed the way my people see humans. You have done what no other could have done." Adrian looked at her, his expression calm. "I only acted where it was needed. The Empire's strength was already there. I merely guided it in a way that allowed us to use it more effectively."
Kaylara shook her head. "You underestimate yourself."
"You revealed a power, a perspective, that has altered the course of history. The Council, the soldiers, even the people, they will see that humans are capable of things we have never imagined." Adrian nodded, a quiet humility in his eyes. "Then I am glad. Humans have always survived by learning, by observing, and by adapting. Perhaps the Empire can benefit from seeing the universe in that way." Their conversation was interrupted by a messenger, who bowed deeply before delivering a hollow report. "Your Majesty, the nobles wish to convene an emergency council. They request your guidance in reorganizing the Empire's defenses and political alliances in light of the recent events." Kaylara took a deep breath. She had anticipated resistance, but now it was necessary to act decisively. She turned to Adrian. "You will accompany me. Your insight will be invaluable, and it is time the Empire understands that your role is not just ceremonial." As they entered the council chamber, the nobles were already assembled. Their expressions were a mix of respect, curiosity, and lingering doubt. Kaylara took her place at the throne, and Adrian stood beside her, calm and poised. "The Empire faces new realities," Kaylara began. "Our enemies are bold, intelligent, and persistent. We cannot rely solely on tradition or the strength of numbers. We must adapt. We must learn. And we must use every resource at our disposal, including the unique abilities of those who stand with us." A murmur ran through the chamber. Veyron, still skeptical, spoke up. "Your Majesty, are you suggesting that humans who are fragile and short-lived compared to our species now have a role in shaping the Empire's defenses?" Kaylara's gaze was sharp. "Not merely humans, Veyron. Adrian has shown us a new perspective, a way to observe, understand, and act with precision. He has proven that intelligence, adaptability, and courage are as important as longevity and power." The council was silent. Some were still hesitant, but many nodded slowly, realizing that the events of the recent battle had indeed changed their perception. Adrian stepped forward. "The Empire is strong," he said, his voice calm but confident. "We must not fear change. We must learn from every engagement, understand our enemies, and adapt our strategies. Strength is not only in the fleet or the technology, it is in how we think, how we respond, and how we protect our people." Kaylara observed him closely. The words were simple, yet their impact was undeniable. Even the most rigid nobles had to acknowledge the truth. A new era was beginning, one where humans were not just observers, but active participants in shaping the galaxy. In the following days, Adrian worked closely with Kaylara to reorganize the Empire's military and intelligence systems. He introduced methods of observation and adaptation that were unfamiliar to the Elarians. Small units became more agile, intelligence gathering improved, and communication between fleets became faster and more efficient. The Empire's citizens began to see the changes firsthand. Soldiers trained under Adrian's guidance, learning tactics that combined human ingenuity with Elarian precision. Young nobles and scholars studied his methods, fascinated by the logic and creativity he brought to every problem. Kaylara, walking through the palace gardens one evening, watched Adrian teaching a group of young officers. He moved with quiet authority, demonstrating strategies, encouraging questions, and observing their reactions carefully. The way he interacted with them was different from any Elarian teacher. He did not demand obedience. He fostered understanding. Kaylara felt a sense of pride and admiration. This human, so different from her people, was shaping the next generation of leaders. He had brought more than power to the empire. He had brought knowledge, adaptability, and a new way of thinking. Their bond deepened as they worked together. Late nights were spent analyzing intelligence reports, discussing strategy, and exploring ways to strengthen the Empire's defenses. Through these shared challenges, Kalara came to understand Adrian not just as a mate, but as a partner, a mind equal to hers in insight and determination. One night, standing on the balcony overlooking the city, Kalara spoke softly. "I underestimated humans," she admitted. "I believed you were weak, that you would falter in the face of challenges beyond your understanding. I was wrong." Adrian smiled faintly. "Humans are different. We survive by learning, by adapting. We may be small, but we are capable of great things." Kalara turned to him, feeling a mixture of pride, awe, and something deeper. Connection, respect, and admiration. The prophecy had spoken of a human mate, but she had never imagined it would be like this. Not only had Adrian proven his worth, he had revealed a potential that could change the fate of the Empire itself. As weeks passed, the Empire stabilized, and the Council accepted Adrian's presence not only as a mate, but as a valued advisor. He introduced new protocols for fleet coordination, improved defense systems, and fostered communication between human and Alarian knowledge bases. Even the most skeptical nobles began to acknowledge that his insights had strengthened the Empire beyond what tradition alone could achieve. Kalara observed this transformation with a sense of wonder. Humans were not just capable of survival, they were capable of innovation, courage, and leadership. Adrian had shown her that strength could come in forms that were subtle yet powerful, and that greatness was not limited by species or expectation. The citizens of the Empire began to celebrate the human mate as a symbol of hope and ingenuity. Stories of his actions during the battle spread across planets, inspiring admiration and curiosity. Humans, once dismissed as fragile and insignificant, were now seen in a new light. The galaxy had witnessed a new standard of capability and resilience. Kalara and Adrian spent quiet moments together, reflecting on the changes. "You have done more than I could have imagined," Kalara said one evening, her voice soft, almost private. "You have not only saved the Empire, but you have reshaped it." Adrian looked at her, calm yet thoughtful. "I have done what I could, but it is the Empire itself that is strong. My role is small, yet I hope it inspires others to see what is possible." Kalara smiled, feeling a warmth she had never experienced before. She realized that the Empire's future was no longer defined solely by tradition or power, but by adaptability, intelligence, and the courage to embrace the unexpected. And at the heart of this change was her human mate, whose calm wisdom and hidden power had stunned not only her, but an entire civilization. The night was quiet, the twin moons reflecting on the palace grounds. Kalara and Adrian stood together, looking out at the stars. Two beings from vastly different worlds united by trust, respect, and shared purpose. The Empire was secure, its future brighter than ever. And the legend of the human mate, once dismissed, now celebrated, would endure for generations to come. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Kalara knew that the prophecy had been fulfilled, not in ways anyone had expected, but in a manner that transcended expectation. Humans, once underestimated, had shown their potential, and the Empire would never be the same again. Adrian turned to her, his expression calm and unwavering. "The universe is vast," he said softly, "and there is still much to learn, but together we can face it, and the Empire will thrive." Kalara nodded, a sense of profound certainty settling over her. She had found not just a mate, but a partner whose mind and courage could shape destinies. And in that moment, as the Empire awakened to a new era of understanding and strength, she knew that humanity had earned its place among the stars, not by accident, but by proving that even the smallest and most underestimated species could achieve greatness.